Hello, everyone. I'm Bev Clarkson, Director of the Pittsburg Public Library, and I'm delighted to welcome you here today for our virtual author event featuring KJ Dell'Antonia. And she's not only a New York Times best-selling author, but she has many local connections to this area in Southeast Kansas. KJ is going to talk about her local roots today and discuss her new novel, The Chicken Sisters, which drew inspiration from our own Chicken Marys and Chicken Annies. We're thrilled at the opportunity to meet and get to know KJ. We would love to have welcomed her here in person over a plate of fried chicken, but we are happy that she can join us virtually. And just so you know that later in the program, we're going to do a little question and answer session. So if you would like to use the chat feature of Zoom to type in a question, you can do that and we'll get to as many as we can. But for now, onto our program. KJ Dell'Antonia was raised in Texas and Kansas. She graduated from high school in Wichita and attended Kansas State University. She attended law school in Chicago and worked as an attorney in Manhattan, not Manhattan, Kansas, that other one in New York. She has worked as a contributor to the New York Times and has written a nonfiction book called How to Be a Happier Parent, which I read recently and highly recommend, and it's available for checkout here at the library. She now lives in New Hampshire with her husband and 4 teenage kids and assorted pets. The Chicken Sister is her first novel, and it's already a New York Times bestseller and was chosen by Reese Witherspoon for her book club. And those are some pretty impressive achievements. So let's all welcome KJ back to Kansas. We are so happy you can visit with us today, KJ. Welcome.
Thank you so much. This is great. And I really hoped to be there in person. Like I totally thought that would be what would happen, but who could have ever guessed that we would have the year that we had last year? So yeah. Where should I start?
Well, let's just tell us a little bit about your book. I know a lot of people have already read it, but tell us your take on it and tell us what it's about and tell us about Kansas and your connections.
Sure. So The Chicken Sisters is the story of 2 sisters, May and Amanda, who grow up in an imaginary small town that is actually not particularly like Pittsburgh or Frontenac, although it has "ack" in the name because it's called Merrimack. They grow up in this small town in what they joke as the witch's house. Their mother is stressed and difficult. She runs one of the town's 2 fried chicken restaurants, and the other fried chicken restaurant, she runs Chicken Mimi's, and Chicken Franny's is run by a rival family across town and is much more successful. So one sister, when she grows up, ups and leaves because that's all she's ever wanted. And the other sister stays, but she marries into the rival fried chicken family because all she's ever wanted is a lot more security than her mother could provide. So what happens in the book, The Chicken Sisters, is that the sister who stayed, she's lost her husband and she's working in the chicken restaurant and things are not turning out as she had hoped. So she reaches out to a reality TV competition that she is hoping will change everything for her and her restaurant and basically kind of get her a ticket out of town. And when she does this, her sister finds out about it. Her sister's been living in New York, super successful, everything's going great, except that she has just lost her job on a reality TV show as a organizing host. So she decides to come back to Kansas and help her mother with the other side of the fried chicken competition. So basically, these 2 sisters come up with this reality TV show competition that they end up using to solve their longtime feud over which of them made the better life choices, and ultimately to learn that they both kind of needed a little bit of what the other one had.
That's great. Well, I know it's loosely based on Chicken Annies and Chicken
Very loosely.
Very, very, very loosely. I mean, just kind of the chicken competition. But tell us about your memories visiting Pittsburgh and Frontenac and some of your relatives around here and just what you think about Kansas.
So I grew up, my folks are from Pittsburgh and Frontenac. My mom is from Frontenac. She went to high school in Frontenac. My dad is from Pittsburgh. He went to high school in Pittsburgh. They met at a school dance. He was a football star and the quarterback, but he had a broken leg, so he couldn't dance with the girl who brung him. And he sat with my mom instead. And, the rest was history. My mom used to work at the photo stop photo store, and I know that it's still there. I'm blanking on the name right now, but now it's like,
Is it Miller's?
Yes, Miller's.
Okay.
Thank you. So my mom used to work there.
Oh, wow.
While my dad went to Pitt State, he was ROTC. So that's them. And then I grew up coming to Pittsburgh, which is how we thought of it. Every holiday, every summer, every from Texas or Kansas or wherever we were living. And we always ate at Chicken Annie's. And it was like, a thrill. It was a big part of the visit to go and eat at Chicken Annie's. I loved it. And I got it. Oh my gosh, there's my dad. That's who you're getting.
What's that?
This is my dad.
Welcome. We're so
We
happy
were
you're
trying to get it on
us.
the big screen TV, but it was giving us trouble. So.
Oh, good. Well, we can't wait to hear about your memories of Pittsburgh too.
Okay, did I send y'all the link? I don't know quite how this
Yeah,
works.
well, of course you did, or else I couldn't have done this.
All right. I guess I sent my dad. That's where my link went, Bev. I sent it to
Okay,
my
good.
dad.
Great. That worked out
Your
well.
mother had it too, but
Sitting in
somehow
front of
we'll
the
let
train.
her in.
So, oh, yeah, this is a
We're
challenge.
actually able to talk to you.
I don't remember where I was.
Okay.
You're
So
visiting
I grew up
Pittsburgh.
going to Chicken Annie's and loving, going. And the two chicken restaurants just stuck with me like that. I always felt like, why would there be two?
Side by side out in the country.
there,
Mhm.
like somebody had to have annoyed somebody else, right? Like you can't, if you started a bookstore called, Bev's Books and Chips, and I started one down the street called KJ's Books and Chips, you'd be like, hey. So I always felt, without even knowing, like there had to be some deep rivalry there. And it just stuck with me. And when I ended up wanting to tell a story about people, I really wanted to tell a story about small towns and how you grow up in them wanting desperately to leave. And then when you get older, you realize that actually you kind of had everything you ever wanted, or everything you want now. So I really wanted to tell that story, and placing it with those two fried chicken restaurants in a KJ-esque version of that small town I grew up knowing so well that was just the way to go.
Wow. That's great. And tell about your grandma. I know a lot of people here remember your grandma.
Yeah. So my dad, that was my dad, Marie Dell'Antonia's son. And yeah, my grandma was Marie Dell'Antonia. She worked at the bank for eons. I grew up visiting her at the bank and getting a silver dollar, which I'm sure she paid for. Like super. I just, she worked behind the counter. People remembered her. She retired, and then she went back a few years later because she missed it so much. And then after she retired again, she spent the rest of her days walking the mall and JCPenney's, wearing like full on JCPenney version of Chanel and high heels and just bling everywhere. I meant to bring up, I have all of her old jewelry. I was going to bring some of it up and like put it on and be Grandma Marie for you all. But
oh, that's so great. That we love to hear about your local connections. But before we get too far into it, I have a little lightning round of questions that I'm going to give to you, and you just say the first thing that pops into your mind. Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite book as a child?
Oh, Anne of Green Gables.
Favorite animal?
Dog.
Yeah. Reality TV, yes or no?
Yes.
Favorite reality TV?
Oh, I like the Real Housewives, and I'm a sucker for this very strange thing called the Sultans of I guess I can't watch. I don't watch it that much because I can't remember the name, but it's like Real Hollywood's the Real Housewives, the Sultans of
I think I've seen
Sultans of Sunsets. That's it. It's the Sultans of Sunset. If that's on anywhere, I will watch that.
I know. I'm a big one for the HGTV House Hunters type reality shows.
You love the ones where they had to like remake a house in an artificially short period of time.
Yes. Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
Adored those. Watch them. Like crazy.
Favorite kind of pie? Did you talk a lot about pie?
Cream.
What's that?
Chocolate cream.
Chocolate, of course it is. You have a recipe. Yes. Favorite kind of food in general?
Ooh, I do like fried chicken, and
Right.
I'm thinking about fried chicken a lot lately. But yeah, fried anything really. If you will
Okay.
fry
Yeah.
it, I will eat it.
Favorite time of year?
Ooh, summer.
Summer. Favorite author?
Oh,
No, hard.
that's so hard. I'm gonna go with Dorothy Sayers.
Okay. If you could travel back in time, what period would you go?
Probably like right World War II era.
Last book you read?
The last book I read, I just finished First Comes Like by Alicia Ray. It is a super fun romantic comedy. Um, uh, uh, yeah, it's really adorable and cute, and the people are so much fun. I like it a lot.
Do you have a favorite superhero?
I don't know that I have a favorite.
All right. I was watching the Marvel movies
I
yesterday.
have a favorite super dog here in my lap.
Dream
I
vacation.
know the super dog. I have a dog.
Okay. A dream vacation spot.
Ooh, any beach.
Any beach. All right.
Although I actually prefer hiking and I don't swim in the ocean right now. I mean, if you didn't ask me in February, I might say something different.
Best piece of advice you've received.
Yeah. This is not just saying this because my dad is around here somewhere, but my dad once told me that silence was fine. And when you were talking to someone, especially during an interview, he said, let there be silences. Let them ask the questions. And that has been super useful, not to rush into speech at every opportunity.
All right. And the final one, your favorite piece of chicken? The leg, the thigh?
I like the popcorn.
Popcorn? Okay. I'm fond of a chicken strip. Yes.
The popcorn. Yeah, the strip.
I've heard many times that an author's first fiction book is somewhat autobiographical, and maybe a little bit in your case. Do you think this is true? Do you think it relates to your own life?
There are parts that do, but no, I think this is not my first fiction book. This is just the first publishable one.
Oh, yeah.
An entirely different question. So although there are certainly pieces of me in Amanda and in May and in everyone, absolutely in both Nancy and Barbara, there's like the only autobiographical thing in the book is that I did in fact throw away my husband's baseball glove.
Did you have a favorite character in the book? Did it start out being your favorite character and then someone else took over, or?
Yeah, so May was easier for me to write because May is probably more like me. She wants out of town. She wants success in a very conventional sort of classic way. She judges herself by how other people see her and her external success. That's much more like me. And I found it easier to write her. But by the end of the book, I think I liked Amanda better because I feel like she had a more solid handle on what was really important in life. And then since I've finished and I've put it aside and I've just been talking to people about it, I've realized how much I really like Nancy, who at some point at the end of the book says, you know what? This is ridiculous and I'm not doing it anymore. And you gotta respect that. So
I think Nancy was probably one of my favorite characters too, because she's just kind of the voice of reason, in there. So
you always need a voice of reason, and
yes, we all need one. Well, I read in some of your interviews that when you travel and someone hears you're from Kansas, you get the same reaction that we've all experienced when we say we're from Kansas, the Wizard of Oz references.
Putting those into May's mouth was so satisfying.
Yeah.
I can only hope that someone somewhere will read that and then not make it.
I know. Questions about tornadoes, you're not in Kansas anymore. Do you really think that people outside of Kansas kind of view us in that kind of two-dimensional way, or like we live in a kind of the black and white pre-Oz kind of life,
I don't know about the black and white pre-Oz. Yeah, people definitely have a very narrow and, not great view of Kansas from the coast. And that was one of the other reasons that I so wanted to write this book and have it be in Kansas and have it be a great place in Kansas that would, a reader would want to go and feel connected to and feel like they wanted to live there. I mean, you read books all the time that are set in cute little Southern towns and
Mhm.
cute little New England towns and
Right.
cute little English towns, but you don't get that many cute little Midwestern towns. And I didn't
No.
want, I mean, I definitely wanted some Stars Hollow in
Mhm.
there, but
Yeah, I
I
like
knew I
Gilmore
wanted
Girls.
some of the reality of, I mean, small towns are challenged right now. I live in one that's fairly close to an Ivy League school, so we are in good shape, but you go 1 or 2 towns north and, you know, the jobs, the things to do, all of it, it's a real challenge. So I wanted some of that in there, but I also wanted it to be a place that people really would understand was just like, you know, places they'd like to live and
Mhm.
had lived and wanted to be.
Yeah. When was the last time you visited the Southeast Kansas area?
Oh man, I think honestly it was probably for my grandma's funeral.
Okay. Was
I've
that like
been,
more than 10 years ago
oh
or?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been back to Wichita for a high school reunion, but again, it's more than 10 years. I
Oh,
don't have,
wow.
I mean, I have family there, but they're more distant now.
Distant.
My
Oh,
folks
well,
are in
you need to
Texas.
bring the kids back and visit Pittsburgh. I mean, I think you would be surprised
Oh, I
about
know I would.
from now. It's kind of revitalized a lot, even in the last 5-10 years. So
Well, I think of
we'd
the
love to have you back.
Pittsburgh, like I don't think of I don't think of it in a like I think of the towns that are close to me that have a big thriving community college or a big thriving smaller college, something along the lines of Pick State. There's a town here called Keene. I think of that. Yeah, I Merrimack is not Pittsburgh or Frontenac. It's probably
No.
closer to the small town that I live in now, which has 1,600 people in it. I needed it to be smaller
Right.
for the book to work.
Okay. I have to admit, when I first got the book, I thought it was going to be like a lighthearted romantic comedy. And then when I got into it, you take a much deeper dive into family relationships, questions about the decisions we make in life, and even mental health issues, mental illness. Did you plan that all out ahead of time? Did you know exactly where you're going to go, or was it more an organic process that you told the story as it went?
I definitely didn't plan it all out ahead of time. It was an organic process. And I knew what I knew was that Amanda would learn that May had a point, and May would learn in particular that the thing I was more interested in, I think, was that May would learn that Amanda's decision to stay had not been the poor choice that she'd always mentally envisioned it. So I wanted them to go through that process, and I wanted to give May a reason to come home that wasn't like she felt like home would. I didn't want it to be like, no, I'm going to go home and I'm going to start a reality TV show here and I'm going to remodel all the houses in my town. I love that reality TV show, incidentally. But, I wanted it to be something more about the real reasons that we want to go places and be places. So all the stuff from about her mom and
Did
her
you start when you started
sister,
out
it all
with the
kinda came from
hoarding issue in your mind? Had you had any experience with that?
the hoarding.
Yes.
Oh
Not
no!
you personally, but I mean,
First of all, hi mom. She's so not a hoarder. my mom is
make that
very
clear.
way neater than me. Don't turn this camera around because this is not looking great. So no, that is a funny one. Once I had my May control freak person in my head, I started thinking about what would have made her be that way. And so in my time as an editor at the New York Times, I had a woman write for me who had written an essay about her dramatic need for order and minimalism that was created in her or contributed to by her mother and her father, I think, both of their hoarding issues. So that had really stuck with me. And then she'd written and she knows, her name is Judy Battalion. She has a really interesting book coming out about World War II, actually, nothing about hoarding at all. But anyway, she'd written a memoir about it. So a lot of the stuff about hoarding comes from me talking to Judy and reading her book and editing her work. So it kind of vampired that stuff, but you can't only use things you've personally experienced.
No,
or
of course not.
very
No.
bored.
You know, it's very compelling too. We have a question in the chat. It's from Christine. And Christine says, Andy was an outsider and his role in the story was not defined. He was kind of more mysterious. What was your vision of his role?
If I'd had more pages, he would have had a little bit more. But I saw Andy as somebody who'd, been dropped into town probably because he'd made a fair number of mistakes in his life and was trying to make a good and safe new space for himself away from the mistakes that he'd made in the past.
Your biography I've read that says that you focus on basically the same theme in your fiction and nonfiction writing, trying to find out what makes us happy, you know, the decisions we make. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? What really makes me happy is getting outside every day, even if it's cold and miserable. It's spending time training my dog or cooking with my kids. But the funny thing, and sort of part of the reason that I focus on this, is that that's not necessarily what I think will make me happy. You know, if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I want to do something that will make me happy today, then maybe my choice is going to be a chocolate cream pie, and a spoon. That, while it has its advantages, I don't end up happy at the end of that. It's kind of like those nights where you're like, oh, yeah, this in the old days when we could go places. I think we've all sort of come to this realization that you think to yourself, oh, I don't want to go to so-and-so's party. You know, I'm tired. I had a long day at work. And then you realize that you go to the party and you're so glad, like that lights you up and you leave with the energy, more energy than you came in with. So I find that really interesting that we do that on a small level. And I love the work of Daniel Kahneman, who talks about how we do it on a big level as well. Like we think, when we're choosing a house, we think that a bigger house with a nicer tub is going to make us happy. But the truth is that probably what would make you happier is if that house was closer to your best friend, even if it wasn't as big and nice. So I think that's really interesting how we can't if we don't know what's going to make us happy, who knows, right? Why can we not figure that out for ourselves? It's kind of pitiful.
Yeah, well, and in the book, May is kind of like that. She goes to New York because she thinks that will make her happy, and being very famous and successful will make her happy. And then when she comes home, she finds out, maybe the relationships that she has at home with her friends and her family are what actually will make her happy.
Right. So she, needed to learn to focus on those things that were the more internal things, the things that are tighter to home. But on the other hand, Amanda is sort of in the process of realizing that, this was great, but it's okay to want more too, right? So I didn't want to say, no, small town home life is best. It's not that. It's more the need to really consider the need to let yourself be open to the possibility that what you think is going to make you happy is not really ultimately what it is.
What do you want people to take from your book other than just having a good time reading it? Was there some kind of message, advice in it? What do you think?
Mostly that the idea that maybe what you think will make you happy is not that. I'd also like it if they came away with a warmer, fuzzier feeling about Kansas and not making Kansas jokes anymore.
We all agree with that.
I think I like to put a book down and feel happy about the way the characters grew and changed. And I like to feel sort of, satisfied and maybe a little inspired by where they end up. And so I would hope that maybe people would spend a little time just thinking about, well, gee, what would actually make me happy that isn't necessarily what I imagined.
All right, we have another question on the chat. It's from PJ, and PJ says, maybe I was watching The Social Dilemma before reading your novel, but I noticed that though social media was key to May's career, she seemed happier when she forgets about posting and gets involved in work and family. Did you purposefully touch on that?
Yes, I absolutely did. I happen to actually adore Instagram, but I have, with great difficulty and after many years, because I'm a journalist. I worked with the Times for a long time, and we were strongly encouraged while I was there to have a big social media presence, to do a lot, to spend a lot of time on it. And that benefited many of us in many ways, and maybe didn't benefit the Times as much, because then you sort of get the journalist as personality thing, and that's ultimately maybe wasn't the best way to go, but it's how things were. So I was spending a lot of time not on the things about social media that I thought were fun, but on the things that I felt like I had to do. And so I did, yeah, I absolutely wanted to have May experience, social media as not giving her what she thought it was giving her. Because, yeah.
Do you think on a larger level that, as a society, we're kind of out of balance with social media, reality TV, and that sort of thing?
I don't know that I do, especially now, and especially after this year. I think we're just finding our way with new mediums of communication. And we've always, as a species, and this kind of goes back to my parenting writing, but we always worry when something new comes. I mean, they worried when people stopped telling stories around the campfire and started to write them down. Then they worried when the printing press came, and we worried when the telephone came, and and TV and movies. We worry about them all, and then we figure out how to make them happen. Did we go through a little period of reality TV will solve all my problems and social media will make me proper friends? Yeah, but I'm not convinced that we're still there. And especially, thank you, fate, to the lesson that you have delivered all of us. I don't think there's anyone on the planet now that does not understand that the people that we can talk to in person are much better than the people we can talk to on our screens.
That's true. Oh, we have another.
I just want to wave a little flag at whoever's in charge and say, I learned, can we end the movie now? We're done. We learned our lesson. Can we just get back together?
We have another one. Barbara Fullerton asked, have the families of Chicken Annie and Chicken Mary's reached out to you, or did you reach out to them while writing the story?
I did not reach out to them while writing the story. And when my mom found out I was writing this, she specifically said, oh, do you want to know the real story? And I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. And I didn't watch. I know there is a reality competition between the two restaurants. I've actually never seen it. So while writing, absolutely not. Since, yes, I got this fantastic email from a man named Bruce, who said he grew up working the cash register at Chicken Mary's and in the 60s. And now he's a flight attendant who lives in California with his partner. And I just thought, and he told me some stories about his mom and how much time she put into the restaurant. And I was a little afraid that people would be upset, especially if Lord forbid that somebody had a hoarding problem, because that would be super awkward, right? So I was a little afraid people would be upset at my taking kind of liberties with their real history, but no, he was super nice about it. And the people that run the restaurants now have reached out and just, told some stories and said that they're pleased and they think it's fun. So it seems like everybody is happy with it, which I was a little nervous about.
I can understand, but at least everybody wants to eat fried chicken after they read the book. So
yeah.
It's good for business.
The more people that read it, and right there, at least, the more people are going to turn up at Chicken Mary's and Chicken Annie's.
All right. Reese Witherspoon is known for turning books into movies. Can you tell us if there's been any talk about that? Would you like that?
I would. Been optioned actually for TV, not for a movie, but that does not necessarily mean that anything will ever come of it. So
Netflix, there's so many good series on Netflix now.
Yeah, it takes forever. And interestingly, It's not Reese Witherspoon's people who optioned it. That was
really?
Before she chose it. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. Have you thought about who you would like to play your characters? Have you cast it in your own mind?
Well, the truth is that I'm old, and the people that I envision are no longer probably the people that would be right. I mean, yeah, sure. In my mind, it's Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Garner, but that is because my knowledge of people who are acting today is kind of limited. I'm not just not that up on people's names. So I hadn't, that was my mental vision.
That was mine. Reese was mine for May, but Jennifer Garner, that's perfect. Yep, that would be a perfect Amanda. Yes.
I think she'd be great.
Yeah, I do too. And she's like, yeah, oh, that's really good. Let's see. Is it hard to leave characters behind? Once you put so much work into them, you spend time with them in your head and all that. Can you just leave them behind? Or is it not easy? Is that easy? Are you done with them?
Well, I was done with them for a while, just
Mhm.
because it was just from sheer, and I do have, something else that I'm working on. I actually went back. I had always meant to write a final chapter where we sort of saw where they were 6 months later. I like those in books, but I didn't have it in me when I finished the book. So I did write one. I'll send you guys the link.
I have actually read it. It's on your website. Yes.
It's
So people
free.
go there.
Like, anybody can have it. So there's a little epilogue of how they ended up.
No, that was great.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I feel like they're kind of still, they're still with me.
I can understand that. Let's see. Can you tell us what your next book is going to be about? A little bit about it.
I could try. I'm in the revision process, so there's a chance that this will be entirely wrong, but I don't think that the core of the book is going to change. It is about a young woman who writes a phenomenally successful memoir in the vein of Eat, Pray, Love, but is not thrilled by the amount of public attention that it gets. So when the author of her book has to appear in person and in front of her very judgmental mother, she decides that she cannot possibly do it and leans over and shoves her best friend on stage instead.
Ah, I can't wait for that one. Getting back,
It's pretty fun.
Chicken Sisters.
Also, there's a farm and chickens and mini ponies and horses and all kinds of hijinks.
You're a parenting expert. You wrote a book on it.
I'm not a parenting journalist.
And what do you think about the parents in your novel? And what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh gosh,
because that's an open can of worms there.
It is, isn't it? Well, and also, I mean, am I talking about Barbara and Nancy, or am I talking about
pick one?
Amanda, right?
Yeah.
Amanda seems to have really, to me, rocked it. The small things that we see about how she handled her husband's death with the kids seems to have been, she didn't erase him from their memories. She might have been a little too protective of his memory, but seems to have worked out pretty good for the kids. Mm-hmm. And May, I mean, those kids are so little. She's got plenty of time to figure it out. And now that she's going to have more help and a village around her, I feel really good for her.
I read that you described Amanda's house as your grandma's house.
It's totally my grandma's house.
Is it? Now tell us about it. Was that the house in Pittsburgh or Frontenac?
No, it's in Pittsburgh. I believe it's 902 East 8th Street, but that is me. That is just me like randomly remembering an address. So I could be wrong. My dad is in here somewhere and he would certainly know because he grew up there. And anyway, yeah, it's this very small square footprint. And the only thing that I changed is that where in the real house, there's only room for like one master bedroom, which is quite small, and one teeny tiny little other bedroom. I made room for two teeny tiny little other bedrooms because I wanted Frank. I didn't want the kids to have to share a room the size of a twin bed, which is all.
Did you stay there when you came and visited, or?
Sometimes I would stay in my dad's old room, but it was literally too small. Like it's really. Yeah. You went in and there was the living room and there was the kitchen and then the bathroom behind the kitchen and then the little bedroom and then my grandmother's room. And the thing that it's not in Amanda's house, but who knows, maybe I just didn't write it in there. My grandmother, and anyone who remembers her will appreciate this, had painted a giant half-naked mermaid above the bed, above the top.
That's unique.
Yeah, she's unique. She was, anyway.
Is your dad still out here? Would he like to join us and talk about Pittsburgh?
I don't know.
Well, if he...
there he is.
There he is. What's your dad's name? Mr. Dillon. John, would you like to reminisce about Pittsburgh, or do you have any questions?
They're probably playing with the tech.
Oh, well, that's all right.
He'll show, if he can, he'll show up. They probably just sort of put it on. Oh, there's my mom.
There they are.
And I didn't even talk about my mom's family. She's
Talk about your mom's family. We want to hear all about your local connections here in town.
my
This is
mom
probably
was
the only
a
interview that you.
Reinhold. Her
I knew-
folks,
Yeah.
her mom was a McGinney.
Uh-huh.
Her brother is still around, Ken. He was a vet for a long time now. He's working with some meat factories. So I don't know. Parents, do you want to say anything? I'm
Karen, can
going
you
to speak for you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we figured she found the unmute button. How about going to the full screen mode again?
Where's that? You can do it.
Well, I can't, I'm not.
Let's see. I remember
All right, go
coming
ahead.
and
How long has it been since you folks lived in Pittsburgh?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
a long time.
A long time. Oh my goodness.
67.
Have you been back here? Well, you obviously visited your mom, and so you've been.
Well,
back
yeah,
since
the
then.
last time we were there was, you like my background, the last time we were there was when my mother passed, which is, what, maybe 10 years ago?
2008, 2009.
Yeah. It
So
was
over
right
10
after
years
we
ago.
moved to Texas. And we haven't been back since because, she's not there now, and Joe's parents are both passed, so there's not really a reason for us to go. I mean, I've always wanted to come back just to see what Pittsburgh looks like now, because I did graduate from
Mhm.
Pittsburgh State, and I know it's grown substantially
It has.
since then, and I read about it, and so I would, one of these days we may drive up there. It's not really that far.
No, take a road
And
trip.
I've had a couple of, invitations, because I'm also a graduate of Pittsburgh High, to come back to
Mhm.
high school reunions, and I did go back to one, some time ago, a long time ago. But the last few times they've gotten together, I have not gone back.
That was because there was a Frontenac reunion. at the
Yeah,
same
there was a
time.
Frontenac reunion where Joe graduated from at the same time, so we went back, and she went to hers and I went to mine. And it was fun to see a lot of people that I went to high school with. We had, I was, much to my surprise, we had an unbelievably successful class when we graduated in '59. If you go back and look at what those people did, we've got a lot of people that were, really high executive positions. We've had some judges in it. We have some airline pilots. It's pretty remarkable what my classmates did. And, and you get back together and talk to them. And of course, no surprise to you, most of them moved after they got out of college. They went somewhere. And, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not still that way.
Yeah, well, that's true. But what we've noticed is that people may move away for a time, but a lot of people come back, and the retirement years here. And Pittsburgh was recently named one of the 50 best towns for remote working. So, it's the area has really revitalized a lot in the last 10 years. And I'd love to have you guys come back and visit the library and just see everything. So I think you'd be kind of impressed.
Perhaps we'll do that later this year as things loosen up.
Yeah, take a road trip and come in and
Not that far.
that's what I thought.
Anyway,
No.
you should get back to Karen. You don't need to.
But one thing, KJ, we noticed in the Chicken Sisters book club guide that Pittsburgh is spelt with an H, and it's not a
Not
big
me.
thing.
I know better. Yes,
Somebody,
I am sorry.
it's not Pittsburgh with an H. Yeah.
I would never spell. In fact, I would be more likely to spell the Pennsylvania one wrong.
There you go. We like that. Oh, we have
Yeah.
another question in the chat, and let's just tell everybody this is the final call for questions. If you have anything to ask KJ, we had Belinda Brumfield ask, "Did a teacher inspire your writing? Who inspired your writing?"
Oh, so I've had English teachers my whole life say, I've always been a writer. I've always loved writing. I remember Mr. Burr and Mrs. Anderson and various teachers in Wichita. And even when I was small, teachers encouraging encouraging me. My mom was a teacher. So yes, I don't know that I had any specific encouragement I didn't have any specific encouragement to go with fiction. Most of my encouragement was to do something more practical with it, like becoming a lawyer, which was not necessarily, I mean, it was great and I learned a lot from it, but it
Didn't make you happy?
did not make me
No,
happy.
It did not make you happy.
Although it did, because if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't be where I was.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
always
life's a
that,
journey,
right?
right? And sometimes we have to find out what doesn't make us happy to realize that. So
So I had some really wonderful English teachers in my time. And I had probably the teacher that inspired me the most was my drama teacher, Tom Fry at Wichita Southeast. He is still around and out there. And he believed that any one of us could do absolutely anything, although he was pretty firm that I probably should not head to Hollywood. So, and that was correct too.
you never know. Kendra asked, how did you end up in New Hampshire?
I went to law school in Chicago. I took a law firm job in New York. I had assorted legal jobs and legal adjacent jobs while I was in New York. Then I had a baby and 9/11 happened and I got laid off and my husband didn't get a promotion that he was expecting. And he got a job offer here and here we are, basically.
All right, last call for questions. If anyone has any for KJ. And KJ, is there anything else you would like to tell us about the book or about your Kansas connections or anything at all?
No, other
Have we
than that,
covered it?
I do hope to get, I hope to get back there and go to the bookstore and check out Pitt State and I hope to do my next book is set in New England, but I hope to come back to the Kansas.
I hope so. Yeah, I think that would be great because we need a good ambassador to Kansas.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to be here, virtually with us. Your chicken stock T-shirt will be in the mail.
That's so great. Thank you. So
and when we're able to travel again, I like you take your kids on a road trip to Kansas, and I tell you, the chicken dinner will be on us. I tell you, you have an open invitation to come to the library anytime, and we're so thankful that you joined us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who joined us out in Zoom land. So thank you.